G'day guys, Duckville here. Welcome to Vintage StarCraft episode number 4. We've taken our journey back in time through this particular series that I've been doing. Sorry it has been a little while since the last one, but we do have another step forwards in time. The episode number 3, if you did catch that one, that was from August 16th in 2010. This one, we've got a couple of weeks forward and we are here at August 29th. Of 2010. Now this is going to be a Protoss versus Terran matchup. Now standard disclaimer of course applies as for most of these particular episodes of this show that this specialty cast that I'll be doing. I don't have all the fancy tools that I normally have. We obviously have differences in the UI and all this kind of stuff. There's no clock, there's no name bar up the top or anything like that. A lot of the technology hadn't been invented that we have today. So just bear that in mind and sort of, what this cast is for is basically just looking back at the past, looking at old players, and how the game used to be way back when it first came out. So our player up at the top of Scrap Station, which I'm sure many people will remember as one of the very first maps that came out in StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty. Our Purple Protoss player here as a part of the next team, or clan I suppose, it is Genius. Now, Genius, of course, a player who went on to do some great things. It was a very persistent player throughout the StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty scene and still is about in the heart of the Swarm scene to this day. So, let's see how he goes. Of course, back in the day was on Nex and then went across to, gosh, I can't remember the other clan that he went to, but Xenex, of course, I guess. And now he's actually at Love Your Girlfriend these days in the modern era of 2014. His opponent over on the opposite side over here as our green Terran player for Team OGS, the older gamers, it is the STC. And he'll be starting out over on the, well, I guess the right platform here on Scrap Station. So the STC, of course, has also been around for a very long time. I think, wait, am I mistaken? He has, like, actually just retired? I can't remember. I haven't actually seen too much news about him lately. But he's persisted around, of course, for a very long time. Of course, 4 years, basically, after this particular replay was created when this one went out. Now, this is a practice game between these two players, I believe. It's not from a tournament or anything like that. Obviously, they're green and purple, which is obviously a sign that we're not watching a normal ladder game. But, yeah, we'll see how they go. Now, Scrap Station is a really interesting map. When it first came out, of course, you've got a very wide ramp into your main. It's not the natural, it's the main. So, it's something that you do need to be very careful of. As you can see, Genius is going to be scouting about. He wants to see what's going on here. Normal sorts of stuff that you would see, back in, I suppose, in modern StarCraft. But I mean, one small difference that we'll see here from the STC is that he has gotten his 2 gases relatively quickly here, and is going to be sending a factory across to be a little bit of an annoyance. And Genius is going to have to be careful about this kind of thing. This is a very common strategy in Wings of Liberty on this map. Now, you could either drop over a Rax maybe and be really annoying with a Reaper or something like that, or you could possibly send across a factory and try and make a Hellion or 2. And this is something which the STC is going to try and abuse here. Now, Genius, being very clever, is pushing his probe underneath the factory. It is going to continue to block it off for quite a while, as we can see here. However, STC does get it down. There's no crushing of units like there used to be in Brood War, just by the way, just in case anyone was wondering. But now, as we can see, a couple of units up the front, the Sentry and that single Zealot are going to lock down these units. And this is, of course, before force fields were changed so that units could not get stuck underneath them. So that's always one thing to keep in mind here. That was I can't remember when that change went in, but that was something which a lot of players were really complaining about at one point. But as we can see, the first Hellion is now popped down here for STC. He's going to poke about, but there are two Stalkers here that are going to defend from the Hellion at the moment. Looks like STC is going to go for another Hellion. I doubt that he's going to be able to actually get anything done with this next one. We'll probably see him cancel, like normally I would expect to cancel it, but he cancels it, gets the factory out of there, tries to keep that alive. Meanwhile, back on his side of the map, he is getting some tech rolling. We've got the cloak coming up. The Banshee's going to float quickly across, just while we're well, we've sort of had a short break in the action. This map, as I said, one of the first maps to ever go out. Your natural is in a really weird spot. It's got like this weird cliff portion next to it. There are some destructible debris. Originally, this was not here, and there was a very short path to get into your natural there, as well as some gas vents just sort of covering a weird area. Normally, when you would do a fast expansion, you would set it up something like that. But, of course, we're not going to see anything like that. But STC is going to throw down a few more racks. It's looking like he wants to, well, sit on some hardcore production for now. His first Banshee is on the way across, and as you can see on the production tab, it's still research. There we go. Alright, you can't actually tell how far along they are. You can just sort of guess by the timings. But as you can see, Sentry's going to be here to defend. Unfortunately, Sentry's, I don't think... Hang on. Yeah, these aren't the awesome sentries. I don't know if anyone really remembers, but back in it was very early beta. I think they changed it now that I think about it. Sentries actually did 8 damage per second, and not even kidding. For those of you who never played in the beta, you could actually use sentries to defend against mutas. It was nuts. But they nerfed them and decided that, you know, sentries defending against mutas is not very cool. So anyway, STC does get deflected for now. He's got combat shields and stim researching right now. We can see that the stim is around about halfway done. Where are the combat shields? They're just here. They're only just starting out, so there's quite a ways to go for them. But of course for Genius, he has his natural up, and he's got a bunch of stalkers down here defending this position. His Robo is now opening up. We're going to get a Colossus out, and for the moment, I mean, this is what you had to do as a Protoss on this map against the Terran. You just have to have your units spread out, maybe put down a cannon or two to defend the mineral line, but you just have to be very careful with your positioning and all this kind of stuff, because, you know, Banshees can quickly float across from the Terran main base, and then, you know, then you can be in all sorts of trouble if you're caught out of position. And as we can see for the STC, he hasn't had to spread as much. Of course, like, he's got a couple of Marines and some random Marauders just strewn about the map, but they're not, you know, it's not as carefully positioned as Genius is. But interestingly, STC does catch out Genius and gets a couple of kills there. But it does open up a little bit of space across on the other side of the map for STC to throw down his natural. He's got a little bit more gas coming in. Of course, the STVs are going to be picking up all those extra minerals as well, which is going to help out. And now, as we can see, STC getting a little bit more damage done, just forcing those stalkers out of position. The probe's a little bit exposed right now, but it looks like we'll be okay for now. In fact, I'm going to turn the hit bars on because there's no damaged or selected or anything like that. You just have to have them on or off, and that was it. But STC, what are we doing here, buddy? He's making SCVs but hasn't actually rallied anything at all. There you go. Alright, he's fixed that up now. But for Genius, he's really starting to build up a nice army. He's got 2 Colossi about to be out right now. There are going to be a bunch of Stalkers. We're going to have a total of at least, yeah, we're going to have 3 gates, which is going to be his main production setup there. Meanwhile, for STC, he's got a total of 5 racks. We've got a second starport building as well, so he can get some Vikings out alongside his medevacs that he needs. And it looks as if he's just going to play out a little bit more of a standardized game here. Of course, this little meta thing, this is all based on the map, of course, and it looks as if the Banshees are going to be the big damage dealers here. Double medevac drop of Marines comes across the left-hand side of the map, takes out a couple of workers, forces Genius to have to get across to repel that attack, but for the moment, it looks as if Genius is really starting to power up his forces right now. We've got a 4th Colossus on the way. We have extended the Lance researching. We don't have any upgrades or anything like that just as of yet, I don't believe. No, because he only just got the Forge, and there you go, he's just started +1. So we're still a little bit behind on those kinds of upgrades here for our Protoss player, but he is certainly going to have a lot of firepower as he moves forwards with his couple of Colossi. He's got all those Stalkers and Zealots, and he's decided it's time to move out, and he is going to charge forwards through this middle bridge here, which was something that Scrap Station had as a little bit of a unique thing. A couple of destructible rocks will block the way, so it does give your opponent a little bit of time to come back and try and set up their defense. And speaking of which, Genius just sort of moves across to try and find, see if there was a drop coming along, but he is actually in a little bit of trouble. These Vikings have found a little bit of a sweet spot, and they do take a couple of shots on the Colossi, but I mean, Genius is, as long as he's careful with these Stalkers, and perhaps if he got Blink, he would be able to get something done here against these Vikings, but they're constantly going to be roaming around looking for that shot. Of course, it only takes a small amount of these Vikings to really do some damage here, but STC decides to load up, and it looks as if he was trying to go for a drop inside the natural, but he's decided to turn around. I was going to say that's probably a bad idea. There is way too much Protoss here at this point, and as we can see, STC still struggling to get some units out at this point. He's currently sitting at 118 supply, a little bit supply blocked right now. Meanwhile, for Genius, throwing down some extra pylons and extra gateway. His +1 to weapons is just about to finish up, and he is sitting at 134 supply, so he certainly has a large amount of supply out on the field. Loses one of his Colossi, so that's going to be a little bit of a detriment to the Protoss player, but at STC, what is he going to do? He needs to spread some of these units out to try and make sure that he is prepared for this attack, but I mean, there is going to be so much firepower here, and Genius charges forwards with his 4 Colossi, extended thermal lance, +1 weapons, all done. The Vikings get annihilated across the side, and that is going to be it. Genius is just so far ahead right now. STC, his production really lacking, especially due to his supply block for a short time there. And, you know, you can have all the Marauders in the world, but when they don't have any attack upgrades or anything like that, they're just going to get burnt down by the Colossi. And with Zealots charging forwards, the Stalkers also coming up in support, that is going to be the end of STC here in Vintage StarCraft number 4. A little bit of a look back at the past to see where we came from with this game and how things have changed, especially in regards to maps. It's incredible looking at a map like Star Station, but as we can see, Genius a little bit too powerful this time, even microing that Colossus back for a moment, but the Vikings are able to take care of it, and STC will be forced to tap out in a moment. I am going to continue on this series. I'm going to keep trying to add in another, a VOD every now and then, but every week or two, and hopefully you guys are loving it. Please leave a comment and let me know if you're enjoying just this short little look back every now and then at where StarCraft 2 was way back in the day. Hope you all enjoyed the match. Catch you all next time. Of course, if they get fungal, then you're in trouble town, population top. And, as he looks to build up his some of his extra little production facilities here, such as the extra command centers, we've got medevacs and Vikings now starting to pop out.